Emotional, but good day yesterday. Yesterday was the first day of the year. So happy New Year, everybody. But secondly, it was the first day of this new regime with the New York Knicks. And we're going to spend this entire video talking about that. But look, Julius Randle, shout out to Julius Randle because he was doing what a lot of Knicks fans were doing after our win against the Minnesota Timberwolves. After our game, the very next game on schedule was none other than the Toronto Raptors and the Cleveland Cavaliers. And I'm sure a lot of you guys who don't want to admit it or do want to admit it tuned into that game. And it was a bittersweet moment. It's one of those moments where, you know, you want to see your guys still continue to thrive and hopefully have a good run in Toronto in their new spots. I'm talking about Immanuel Quickley and RJ Barrett. And it was really cool to see Julius Randle have the same sentiment by posting this on social media.
Yes, sir. Locked in. Let's go.
A lot like us, the Toronto Raptors in their first game with their new regime go out there and win. RJ Barrett had 19 points, 9 rebounds off of really good shooting, had some turnovers, issues there. Not our problem anymore, but statistically looked really good in his first game. And so did Immanuel Quickley. Now, unfortunately, Immanuel Quickley had a little bit of foul trouble, but outside of that, he had his first start of the season and looked really good. So shout out to those two guys. I don't necessarily care how the Raptors do. It's cool that they got their first win. But I will be real, I will be tuning in. I want to see how Quickley and RJ continue to thrive over there. So send off to them. The moment from Julius Randle was really cool. All that happened. But more importantly, the New York Knicks had their first game with OG Anunoby in a Knicks uniform. And for whatever reason, I don't know if it was the energy of him being a Knick or what the case may be, the New York Knicks looked rejuvenated in this game. I'm excited to talk about it. Skeptical on a lot of things, but excited about how yesterday's game went. Let's get into it. Run the intro. What's going on, CK Crew? Boy CK2K. Welcome back to another video, and I want to give a proper happy new year to everybody watching this. If you weren't able to be there for the watch along yesterday, happy new year to you. Hope for all of the best for you for this year, and I hope you had a great year last year. Only time for us to all improve and continue to be great. So happy new year. Wanted to get that out of the way. But New York Knicks basketball started off on a great note for the first game of the brand new 2024 calendar year. Not only did we have new faces making their appearance with the New York Knicks, the Knicks had a crazy test playing against the best team in the Western Conference right now, and that is the Minnesota Timberwolves, a team that has been phenomenal defensively, seemed to get every rebound after you miss a shot. The Timberwolves coming into this game with a lot of good things going their way, and more importantly, coming off of this is our second game playing against them, where we lost by 17 against them earlier on in the season. So a lot rode on this game, and you could have easily had that argument or that conversation that if we had lost this game, it's because it's our first game having our new guys meshing with the team. But in an odd way, that wasn't the case for this one. From the jump, even though we had a slow first quarter, but from the second quarter on, the New York Knicks looked like the better team in this matchup, which is really amazing to say because this team was 24-7 before we played them. I mean, it felt like every single game leading up to this one, I'm always talking about how the New York Knicks are allowing other teams to shoot anywhere between 48 and 60% from the field and give up anywhere between 65 to 80 points in a half. Yesterday, they didn't reach the 70-point mark until halfway through the third quarter. So you're seeing the immediate impact of what OG Anunoby brings defensively. OG Anunoby in his very first start showed off to be our most efficient Knick, our best defensive Knick, and did a very good job in his role. He answered a little bit of my question that I'm going to get into towards the end, more of my worries and negatives of this game. But OG Anunoby in 35 minutes, fouling out, still provided to be the second best Knick on the floor tonight. And it's crazy because with his 17.6 rebounds, 58% from the field, defensively, you can tell that it was just different with him on the court, and it became contagious because not only he was getting starts, Isaiah Hartenstein was out there getting stops, 3 blocks against Rudy Gobert. doing tremendous work once again on the offensive boards, getting 4 of his 9 rebounds off of the offensive glass. On top of the 3 blocks, he had 3 steals. Isaiah Hartenstein was a dog in yesterday's game, doing all the little things, and he's been very good since the injury of Jericho Sims, who is allegedly back now, but not in the rotation. Questions about that? We'll talk about that in a little bit. Jalen Brunson had a very, very off night from the percentage standpoint. 22% from the field, only 11% from the field, but still had the second highest plus minus on the court because of him providing offense in other ways. Though he only had 16 points, a lot of that helped to the free throw line, 5 for 5 from the free throw. He also added 14 assists with only 2 turnovers. That is tremendous. The shooting numbers definitely need to improve. Jalen Brunson is one of the most efficient shooting players, not even just guards in the league. He's allowed nights like this, but to have 16 points with 14 assists off of only 2 turnovers, Jalen Brunson, in my opinion, still had a really good night. But we can't go on about good nights without talking about Julius Randle. Julius Randle played a very good game. He had 1 quarter where the numbskulledness started to show up, back-to-back airball threes. But for a guy like him who had 15 of our first 21 points in the first quarter and then took us home to get 39 points overall in this game, where we were looking for offense in that 4th quarter. We were getting stops, but we just could not get any points to put us over the edge. Julius Randle did a tremendous job putting this team on his back, taking us home, especially with the likes of Jalen Brunson being off in a game like this and with OG Anunoby fouling out. That is what you want to see from your all-star player. Hate him or love him, this was a Julius Randle masterclass, and it was really, really good to see and really, really needed. Now, mind you, the turnovers were high. We did a good job keeping the turnovers down as a team, but Julius Randle with 6 of our team turnovers. I think we had a total of, 13 or 12 team turnovers. He had 6 of them. That's probably the biggest negative you could point out, but other than that, Julius Randle took us home offensively, and that's what you like to see. I can go on and on. Quentin Grimes, in my opinion, looked really active in this game. I love his difficult shot making abilities. He was 3 for 4 from the field. Love when he doesn't think and just shoots. Deuce McBride seemed a little bit timid in his first game after his signing. Precious Achiuwa, you can see that there's a motor there with him. He did a good job on the boards with 3 rebounds. I mean, mind you, he only played about 8 minutes, but defensively, you can see there's a lot of holes in his game. And between him and Jericho Sims, I think that's the big negative with those two. But I'm just happy to know that we have some depth at that position now, where it was just Taj Gibson who was one of our bigs. Now we have the likes of Precious, the likes of Jericho, and the likes of Taj Gibson that you can intertwine or intermingle from a minute standpoint going forward, and that's a huge positive for us. A lot of great points in yesterday's game, a lot of great things to see, but the main thing I want to talk about is the overhype with OG Anunoby right now. Not saying that I think you guys are overhyping it. I think in a game like this against the team that we played against, I think it's allowed to overhype this game. It's one thing if in OG Anunoby's debut, we had the kind of game that we had overall, well-rounded, great defense, offense figured itself out, shooting a good number from the field. It's one thing to have those overhype reactions if it was against like the Wizards or somebody else and we're playing that well, and then you have that stereotypical don't get too high on the team, it's only the first game. But this was the best team in the Western Conference. Hell, still is the best team in the Western Conference, and typically the best team in the Western Conference is the best team in the league, and that is again the case here. We just beat the Minnesota Timberwolves, a team that blew us out by 17 points earlier on in the season, and we were able to almost have a lead of 20 points or 20 plus points in this game. Yeah, we only won by 6, but for the most part, we looked like the more dominating team in this game, where they had to have a run, and we survived that run and put on a run of our own, which is something the Knicks have not done, especially against plus 500 teams this season, especially on a night where you're intertwining 2 new names that are immediately placed into the rotation. You got to give credit to that. Typically, I'm in that camp of let's not get too carried away, but I think that goes out the window because of the level of competition in this game. Now, we have a bit of a lesser game, and I say that with the most respect possible, on Wednesday, tomorrow, against the Chicago Bulls. And we're going to see if we now then play down to that competition, if a lot of the holes start to show, or if this is just a version of the Knicks that we're going to see going forward. What version is that, CK? A version of where the typical Knicks of the last few years come back to play, and that's where our defense dictates our offense. I'm still very concerned on where the points are going to come on a regular basis. Last night, we got a little bit of help from Grimes, got a little bit of help from Hart, Donte DiVincenzo having another good night, 15, but Jalen Brunson shot poorly last night. Hartenstein not giving you too much. OG Anunoby around the point range I expect him to be, between that 14 to 18 points a game. Where is the offense going to come from on a regular basis? Can Grimes be a consistent guy to go to on a regular basis? Donte DiVincenzo, are we going to get more from Josh Hart? McBride gave us nothing offensively in this game. Can we expect him to do more? Those are the questions I have going forward. But in this game, if this game is an example of what's going to go on in the future, where the defense dictates our offense, we can probably consider ourselves to be back in the better side of things in the Eastern Conference. But we do need that scorer to help us on the offensive side, whether it's going to be bench depth or whether it's going to be another starter that can help with the scoring. Either way, that is the move I'm looking at. Names, we can talk about that in another video. But for the most part, defensively, it looked contagious last night. And I hope that that's something that continues, especially against the Chicago Bulls coming up tomorrow. But great overall game from the New York Knicks. You know, again, those still wondering how I'm feeling about the OG trade, I'm still skeptical, but this was a very good start for OG. You know, 17 points off of phenomenal shooting. He was damn near 100% from the corner, which is exactly what people had told me to expect with him. Defensively, was never worried about him. I just want to see what he looks like on a consistent basis, helping out offensively. Love that he brought in cutting to this team. We don't typically have anybody that ever cut to the basket, and it seemed like that was also contagious because him and Donte DiVincenzo did such a good job cutting to the basket, where you saw Hartenstein and where you saw Brunson feeding them. A lot of great things, but I just want to see the consistency of it. Brunson being a consistent ball mover, the consistent ball movement of the team as a whole, consistent shooting from guys that gave us some points in this game. Consistency, consistency, consistency. Those are what I'm looking forward to going forward. Well, let me know your thoughts in the comments below about everything talked about in this video, about the game, about how you're feeling about OG, if you're still mad, if you're loving it. Are you hyped up about that game? You think that's the beginning of how we're going to look? All of the above. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. It's been your boy CK. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, hit the notification bell. Do not forget to like this video. I'm trying to get to 25,000 subscribers here before the season's up. Subscribe for your boy. Appreciate you so much. Catch you in the next one. Let's get it. Big win for the Knicks. Take that, Timberwolves. 1-1. I'm done. See you in the next one. Peace.
Cold pizza like Tuesday. I got food up in the fridge. Y'all keep looking for that new wave. I think I like it how it is.